to work on changing the zipper back into a corset. And there's a couple different ways that we can do this. So we can work with rat tail. That's the easiest. This cording, you can put this inside of when you're making a custom cording, you just wrap it and sew alongside. Or you can just use it like this if it matches. Guess what? It doesn't match. Excuse me. So we're not going to use this. Wanted to show you that's an option. You can also use matching ribbon if you're really in a pinch, and you can either roll it with this in the middle like this. You can do that. Or I feel like that makes it look a little bit unfinished. It's just stronger and gives it that rounded look. You can also just go like this and sew this down to make your loops. That will work as well. Or you can make some custom loops, which is what we're doing today. So obviously the dress is this shiny satin and I'm using a more matte finish. If you don't want something to be like really loud with the design, kind of like loops, then you can always step down with the finish, okay? So what I would never do is step up with the finish. So if this was a matte finish, maybe like a Duchess satin without the sheen, or like a crepe or something like that, or if it had a layer of tulle over it to diffuse the shine a little bit, I would never use a shiny loop. And that's what this is. So that's the way I would think about it design-wise as far as making my choice. Welcome aboard, everybody. It's so great to see you today. Definitely drop something in the chat. Say hello to everybody. Can you use that waving hand emoji? Say hello to everybody else that's in the chat today. And let me know where you're from, roughly, and what you're working on today. This is a sew with me. Are you actually sewing with me? Or it's okay. Are you just in your robe? And you just want to see somebody else sew for once? That's just fine. Yes, Miss Giselle found that waving hand emoji. Anybody else wanting to wave? Good morning, everybody. It's afternoon here. Emojis and you search wave, it'll come up. You guys can drop that in there if you want. I was just talking about the different things that we can use to make the loops that we have to make custom matching for a dress when we are changing it from a zipper back to a corset back. That's what we're doing today. We'll be live on here for about 30 minutes today. Won't be long. So sew along with me. You guys always can drop some questions in the chat and I'm happy to help. Jane is in the UK. She just finished up work. So she's going the other way with time. I always like to say to people in the UK, I'm like, tell me how my day's gonna go. Because you're in the future. But it's so great to see everybody. Georgiana, she's got that waving hand emoji. All right, so this first part is going to be absolute gold for you if you struggle with doing the thing where you make your own, like the narrow straps or something like that. This is going to be gold for you. I'm going to show you how I do it, okay? There's some tricks that if you follow them, it just goes so much better. If you skip some of the tricks that I'm going to talk about, then it's not going to go super great. So maybe try every trick that I mention. Sometimes I give these tips and I'll give like 4 or 5 tips, and one of them is like particularly important. And somebody will come back and say, it's not working. They'll email me, it's not working. And I'll say, well, did you try such and such? And they'll say, no, I didn't. And I'm like, that's important. It's one of the tips. You got to do it all. So it really matters. Victoria's working on a waist stay in bustle points. Mary's from Manitoba, Canada. Nice. So Jane did this very thing today. But it's so great to see all of you again. Let's start with making these loops here. I'm going to come up a little bit higher and zoom in just a little bit more. Let me see if I can get you closer. There you go. I don't want to get so close that the machine head covers what I'm doing. These are some tricky camera angles. I don't know if any of you guys have ever tried sewing tutorials, like filming them. It's so hard to stay out of the way. Yes, okay, you can see that good now. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. Let me know if you've mastered this, by the way, or if you still struggle with it. This is making those ribbon loops that go alongside a corset. That's what we're doing. I'm gonna check my needle. Lots of people had questions about that the other day. Raise your needle and just run your finger down it. And I can feel a little bit of drag on this side, so I know I need to change my needle. People were all up in arms. Did you see my last short about that? How often should you change your needle? And then people were mad that I didn't give like a time-based frequency, but it's not time-based. So you're gonna go like this, pull it along your finger, and if you feel a burr, it'll be noticeable. See, I feel a burr right now, but otherwise it's smooth as I rotate the needle. So I know there's a burr on there, so I gotta get rid of her. All right, so let's get a fresh one, shall we? Let's see, here we go. Put that in there. And guys, I am having trouble seeing, so annoying. My doctor told me, my eye doctor, years ago, said that I have old eyes. And I'm like, what? Well, I was 18 years old when I had to get bifocals. So I've had progressives for a long time. And just my last eye doctor appointment, just a clue here. You guys can drop your ages in the chat. I'd love to know how old you all are. I've got to zoom in just a second. So sorry. I got to put my head in the way here to be able to see this. I went to the eye doctor and they told me at the ripe old age of 47 that I am starting with cataracts. That's insane. That is insane. But anyway, so I'm starting to get glare. I never had that before. All right, so again, this is not a super shiny satin. See that? It's a matte finish. It's really nice. But we're going to sew on the outside. And what we did is we cut this on the bias. So see how much stretch it has? This is so key to be able to make these like narrow straps or the loops for the corset, okay? So if your fabric is going this way, you're gonna cut it on the 45 essentially. All right, so I want that finished side on the inside of the roll, all right? And this is crucial. I'm gonna lay this thin little piece of ribbon inside of here, all right? And I'm going to stitch it. Stitch, stitch, stitch. Really securely stitch that, okay? I'm gonna turn this corner here. Start my stitch here, all right? Then I'm gonna stop. We're done, just kidding. Wouldn't that be nice? All right, so we've got all this cleaned up. I'm gonna go like this, and then I'm going to go like this, all right? I'm gonna heat seal that, just so it doesn't fray. All right, so we've got this in here. Guys, if I do this backwards and mess this up on a live stream, you're just gonna bear with me because you know you've done it, right? Okay, so I just adjusted my stitch length to be a little bit longer. And I'm gonna go like this. And the beauty of doing this on the bias means you get to sew a little bit further over. Your tube doesn't have to be as skinny. Fun fact, okay? I'm gonna leave this seam allowance here because that's what gives you that nice beefy shape to this finished strap, okay? So here we go. I'm interchanging strap and loop if you haven't noticed, because you might be using this for the looping for your corset, or you might be using it to make spaghetti straps. What do you call these, by the way? Okay, so I'm gonna go through, I backed up, and I'm gonna go through about this halfway width here, making sure I keep the ribbon on the left side all the way. We don't want to accidentally run over that ribbon. If we do, we got to unpick that part and resew it. Not the end of the world, but we don't want to do that. All right, so this is only a half corset, so these strips didn't have to be very long. All right, so I'm gonna get here. I'm gonna shorten my stitch length again and really lock that so that this pressure we're getting ready to put it under isn't gonna cause that stitch line to come undone. All right, so we got that. Clean up all our threads. And you can start this with like an awl or something, whatever you want. Or you can kind of push it in with any little object that you can grab, okay? An awl would actually be really good for that. But that's usually the trickiest part, is getting this tip to go inside the tube. All right, so watch, I'm pulling, and it's kind of crazy. My fingers are holding with almost a stabilizing amount. I'm not squeezing it so hard that I'm not letting that tip pass through, okay? That's so important to do that. Ooh, oh, okay, there it goes. It popped in. Do you see it? Can you see that? Let me know. And then now all I gotta do is pull on this, and it's gonna come through. Here's our spaghetti. Look how pretty it is. This is the best part, guys. Watch what happens. Okay, so we pulled it through. This is the width that it is, right? But it's on the bias. So now we get to stretch it. Remember, we used the longer stitch length. That's going to allow for your stretching, and look at how much thinner it's getting. So you're going to kind of work that. Look at that. That's how you get them thinner, is the bias plus the longer stitch length. Now you don't want to pull so tight that you pop the stitch. If you pop the stitch, you got to redo it. But what I would do is pull like that, and then I would press it to give that spaghetti its memory, okay? This is a good size for a loop, huh? Okay, tell me in the chat, did you know all of those secrets? Is that how you do your loop? Or not? It's okay. All right, so I'm gonna go like this, and we're gonna put a fresh edge on this, and when you squeeze it while it's still hot, it fuses together. That's nice and neat. Now on this end, we get to reuse this ribbon for our next guy, okay? So I'm not gonna press right now because I don't have the iron sitting here. You know what? I think it might be right behind me. Let's see, where is it? Little iron. Here we are. Here's our little iron. Isn't that cute? I'm gonna plug that in so we can use that in just a minute. Do any of you guys have this little iron? I think it's so much fun. Excuse the earthquake. Had to put you through a little earthquake there. All right. I don't see a little light on this. I hope it's okay. Let's see, little light. There we go. Little light. All right, let's see the chat. I want to see what you guys have done with these before, how you do them. Do you have any other tips that I missed? Sometimes when I'm teaching, I miss like a really obvious point, and I need you guys to help me figure that out. Let's see. Yes, Mary, that's a great way to do it. I like to put the thread in the needle first and then put it into the machine. It's so true. And then sometimes I get it spun around like that. And then Donna, thank you. If I sew it wrong, you're all just going to laugh with me. That's great. And then Jane, yes, it's so satisfying to pull these spaghettis. It really is. Let's see. Oh, Lori, this tip is better than the metal stick. I have taught the metal stick before. Where is she? You know what? I see the screw on my wall where the little round top to it goes to hang, but the little stick is missing. But there is a little stick you guys can pull through, but I do feel like this ribbon trick is so much easier. All right, guys. Drop an emoji for me. Surprise me with whatever emoji you want to do. It really helps out the live stream. It costs you nothing, obviously. But it really does. When YouTube sees you guys interacting, they send this out to more people, which is what we all want, right? All right, so we're going to do the same thing again. Shiny side, shiny-ish side, right? We're going to fold this like that. There we go. We're back on our 2.5, which is, you know, I need to recalibrate since I redid my machine. You know, I had to take all my knobs off to do my machine. And my stitch length is still, oops, I missed it. My stitch length is still not perfect since I took the knob off and put it back on. It's pretty close, but I think it's supposed to be that 2.5 is 10 stitches per inch, if I'm not mistaken. So actually, let's just do that for fun. I have it on 2.5. Let's see how jacked up my machine is. Since I took the knob off and did not recalibrate that. All right, I'm gonna lock it and then I'm gonna say, I'm gonna stitch like this. This is just, I just kind of eyeballed it and was like, yeah, it looks kind of like it. Let's see. Okay, then here's my little sewing gauge. Here's an inch. Let's check it out. Oh my Lord. I'm so far off. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm 9 stitches per inch, so it needs to be a little bit shorter. The way you fix that, guys, by the way, is there's a screw right in the middle of your knob. You loosen it, and then you turn your knob to where your knob needs to be, and then you really tighten down on that knob, and that's going to kind of recalibrate your stitch length. That's if you have a Juki like this. I can't speak for all of them. All right, I'm going to try to grab that end of the ribbon again. And then I'm going to look in just a second and see which emojis you guys dropped. Do you have your sewing emojis like ready to roll on your phone, or do you have to like still dig for them? You can go into your emojis and search. There's like needle and thread. There's scissors. I'm trying to think what else. Mostly those, I feel like. And then did you guys know if you're channel members on here, you get special emojis? Lori, you're on here and you have those emojis. Do you know how to drop those emojis so they can see them? We have the vintage sewing machine. We have a Monstera leaf, which I think should be in every emoji pack on every phone or computer. Am I right? And then let's see, what's the other ones we have? Oh, we have a dress. Yes, we have a wedding dress. And then we have a heart with a needle in front of it. Those are our little special emojis that you get with your, for supporting the channel. All right, so I'm gonna start again. Let's lock this. And now I'm gonna switch to about 3 instead of the 2.5. I did not worry about my needle being raised. My machine does not care if it's raised or not when I change that setting. All right, then we're gonna do a little hot dog here. And let's sew. See how this turns out. I'm gonna put it back on 2.5 and let's lock this off. Here we go. Right after this call, I have my fitting room finesse call. It's my fitting room finesse boot camp. We're halfway through at the end of the call today. and we're learning how to look at dresses and see how to fit them to people. It's good fun. All right, here we go. Again, just such a light touch here, and you just kind of keep pulling. You feel like, oh, it's never going to happen. It's not working, but you just keep at it. It's a life lesson, right? Okay, you can kind of help nudge like this if you want. Like I said, I don't have it all right here. It all would be a really cool thing to push down in there with, but it's going to happen. You just give it time. Here it goes. I'm starting to feel it. Oh, there it went. It pops when it goes in. And again, remember, this seam allowance is what gives it its beefiness. So if you want a really skinny, thin, very, very thin spaghetti, you're going to go back and you're going to cut really close to this seam so that it's flatter. And of course, you would make this a little bit thinner as well. Maybe even do a little bit longer stitch length. There we go. All right, so now we're going to give it our pull. And we're going to wonder if our iron is ready or not. There we go. Got our little pull. Put our fresh tip on here. Here we go. Doop, doop. Doop, doop. Pull on this part. Heat seal. All right, so we got our 2 loops. Again, these would need to be like really long if you were doing the full corset back. This is just like a small little bit of a corset. It's not much at all. So that's how we're going to pull those spaghettis. And let's iron these. I'm just going to iron it on some of this. Oh, Erin, she found all the sewing emojis. She's got 2 evening gowns. Oh, Lori, that's awesome. You guys, thank you so much for dropping so many emojis. You know what you did? You guys just took me from 40 people who were on the call to 65. That was amazing. Thank you so much. So, okay, Lori's showing us the lace emoji. I forgot about the lace emoji. The Monstera, the heart with the needle, the heart with the scissors, the vintage sewing machine, and the gown. Fun. But Erin has dropped all the baked in emojis that we all have with our keyboards. Yes, Monica, great question. Thank you so much. Melting the ends, like with the heat seal, this is what she's talking about, that only works with synthetics, right? It wouldn't work if we were using silk. Absolutely correct. Amanda, hello. Wave emoji. All right, so here's my little iron, and I don't know if I can get you guys in frame. Yep, there we go. There we go. Got you back in here. So I would technically be doing this on my larger ironing table with my larger iron. And I would put the iron on here and I would be stretching the fabric as I pull it through to give that fabric that skinniest memory possible. Okay. And again, we're not going for super skinny. Let's recap the choices that we make when we want to go super skinny, okay? One would be, I would have used a lighter weight fabric than this. This is a pretty beefy satin, right? 2 would be, I would have used a little bit longer stitch length. 3 would be that I would cut away that seam allowance, right? So that way, when I pull on it, the stitch length is going to allow it to stretch even more. And you're not going to have the seam allowance making things nice and thick. I want these nice and thick and strong. All right. So now she's got the memory to lay flat. She's not twisting. And she's got the memory to be as thin as we asked her to be with all of our choices. So it's your choices that you make with the fabric and your stitch length and the seam allowance. It's those choices that determine how thick or thin your spaghettis are. It's not magic that determines that. Some people think it's magic. It's not. Some people think all sewing is magic, and all they mean is like they just don't understand how it happens. So there we have it. Now, the reason why these spaghettis are equal, okay, because that's a big question, right? Wait, I did this and like one of my spaghettis is really thin and the other one's really thick. Like, what am I going to do? And these, I mean, if you put like a caliper gauge on here, this one's probably a little bit thicker than this, but I don't think it's going to matter like this apart from each other on a corset back. So these are relatively equal, okay? So the reason why they're relatively equal is I cut the bias strips relatively the same width. It was about like just a shade over an inch wide. Okay, so I cut them the same, and then I sewed right down the middle of it. So that kept it the same. The seam allowance was the same because of those two factors. And then I pulled them with the same amount of tension. The stitch length was the same. And that's how we got the same widths. So if you're not getting the same widths, that means you're doing something different between the two, because all of those is what determines the width. I hope that was helpful. Jane, little worm. Yeah, it's our little worm. Okay, so I only have 4 minutes left. If you have a question, drop it in. Otherwise, I'm going to talk to you about how I'll sew these in because I don't want to show that today. What I'm going to do is my live stream. My next live stream is Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard. Remember, we're doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that's when I'm going to sew this in. So the next steps will be I'm going to open this up. See, that's all that the waist is. So I'm only going to go about down to here. So I'm not going to take the zipper all the way out. I'm going to take it down about the same amount on each side, maybe 5 inches, okay? And I'm going to make the zipper go like this, go off the rails on the inside. So it's going to stop about here, and I'm going to sew in a zipper stop, and I'm going to sew in a hook and loop. So she's going to have like a 1/3 zipper, and then this here, the zipper is going to be gone. It's going to be inside the dress until our next fitting, then I can cut it off. So the next step that's going to be on Wednesday's live stream is I'm going to show you how I'm going to put these in. So we start here, we go here. This is going to be on the inside of the dress, okay? And you do a little loop. This overlap right here, we'll talk about it more on Wednesday. This overlap is what allows you to get your loops really close. You'll see sometimes like a homemade corset back, the loops will have a big gap between each of them. And that's just because they're going more like this. And by the time you sew through it, you have a gap, okay? So we're gonna talk about how to get these nice and close and tight, just like the professional ones, okay? You're right, Donna. Young children love watching because to them it's magic. And you know what? You're shaping their little brains about how to move things and manipulate fabrics and make things do creative new things and service the way we need them to. So that's beautiful. You got children watching. So yeah, so we're going to talk about that Wednesday, and we're going to talk about how to put the boning in. And then probably Friday is when we'll get into the modesty panel and sewing it all in and all the details with that. So I can't wait to see you then. You guys have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for joining me. Drop a heart emoji if you love these vertical live streams. I love doing them. Do you know they have helped me with my content output? I was really struggling because to record these videos and edit them and upload them, to come up with a channel strategy, meaning like, what am I teaching next? What have I done before? Where are the gaps? All of this stuff takes so long. The vertical live stream, thank you for the heart emojis, guys. Keep it up. It's such a blessing to the channel. So the thing is, with the vertical live streams, I can just show you what I'm doing, and we can build a library, and I can title them, and we're all getting this time together, but I feel like it's really increasing my output. And fun fact, okay, I did not decide to do vertical live stream. YouTube reached out to me and let me know that they thought it would be good for my channel. And boy, has it ever. YouTube knows what's what. So again, here's that rat tail, the stuff we use inside of piping. We could have done that. We could have looped this and sewn it to make these little loops for a corset back. But instead, we did spaghettis, and these are nice and stout. They're more like fettuccine, linguine or something, right? These are not, these are too wide to be spaghettis. But anyhow, you guys have a lovely rest of the week. I will see you Wednesday. Take care. Bye.